everyone, it's Bailey. Welcome back to the channel and thank you so much for tuning in to what's going to be a best and worst of e.l.f. video. I really enjoy watching these sorts of formats on other people's channels, but have never done one here on mine. I've done slight variations where I'll do like top 5 products, and then I'll do a separate video for makeup regrets, and I'm just trying something new because I really, like I said, enjoy watching on other people's channels. I was inspired to do e.l.f. because I recently purchased, and you might know this from a recent video where I also said this, it was in reviewing the eye patches. I did a duper dud between those and the Peter Thomas Roth 24 karat gold, so I will put, you can either click the eye up here or the link in the description bar below if you want to go check that out. But along with those eye patches, I bought a couple of other e.l.f. products, and so it just got me thinking on what other products I like from the brand, which isn't hard to do because they pretty much make everything and like multiple versions of everything, and so it's easy to find something you love, but as a result, you can't please everyone, and so naturally you're going to find some products that don't work for you. So that's what this video is going to be about. It's going to be all about my favorite products along with some of those that just didn't quite work for me. I do also want to mention, I don't know when it's going up, whether it'll be before or after this video, but I am wearing a full face of e.l.f. and so if you're wondering what's on my face, if I don't list it in the description bar because I am the worst at that, just know there is a tutorial coming, and or there may already be one up, so go check that out if you're interested. So the first product I've talked about, raved about since they first came out. I stand by it here. They are the e.l.f. smudge pots. This one is in Cruise and Chic. It's one of my favorite shades. The shade selection has kind of dwindled since they first came out. There used to be a ton of like, you know, 9 shades, and now they're closer to 3 or 4, but I do believe Cruise and Chic has still stuck in there as a mainstay in that shade range, as it should, because it's absolutely amazing. These are great cream shadows, not only as colorful cream bases, but also as standalone cream shadows. Like, you put them on, they're very light, easy to blend, whether you're wearing them alone or with other cream shadows. Super easy to apply and blend, and then they last without fading or flaking or, you know, creasing. Anything you wouldn't want your cream shadow to do, they manage to last all day without doing it. So, and they're like $2 to $4. Absolutely great deal. Next up are brushes, and e.l.f. makes a lot of good brushes. I personally like basically all of the Studio Collection brushes, all the black handled, black bristled brushes like this. I have yet to meet one that I didn't like and last forever. They're a step above the Essential Collection in terms of price range and I think quality personally. Some of these I've had for years and years and years, whereas the Essentials, some of them will last years, but the quality isn't quite as reliable, and so some I'll get, they'll last me years. Also the brush hair is a little bit more coarse. I notice a little bit more shedding with those, but then sometimes like the ferrule might pop off of the brush handle, you know, a couple days, weeks into use. So just, I love the perfect marriage of like price point and quality with the Studio line brushes, but then I've also found some favorites in the, I forget what these are called, but basically the acrylic handles. I have an entire video going over this whole collection, which brushes I love, which brushes I don't love so much, which I will actually be talking about later in the dud section of this video. But these are the ones that I absolutely love. The big old bronzer brush. This is the 101. I use this in the tutorial that I did today. And then I also love this, I use it for foundation, but it's the 103, and I think they call it the angled something or other, but I think this is the perfect brush for buffing and blending foundation all over the face because of this tapered, it's densely packed, but it's kind of tapered, so it gets really nicely into the cheek area of the skin. It can get in this kind of, what can be a narrow area up here, and just get in all the nooks and crannies without compromising that nice, dense, buffing finish that I like in my foundation brush. And then there's this guy, which is the 202, and basically it's like a dense but tapered eye brush. Love this for getting precise for building the shadow in my outer corner, as well as getting a really nice precise application on my lower lash line. Again, use this to create the eye look I'm wearing today, so if you want to see it in action, you can go check that video out. Next up are eyeshadows, and I remember when e.l.f.'s eyeshadow quality was a little bit hit or miss. It depends on if you were doing the singles or if you were getting the palettes. Some of the palettes, not all, were like uniformly good quality. They are onto something with basically every shadow palette that comes in this sort of format. They have the matte that I'm wearing today. It's actually the Mad for Matte 2, which is the sort of pinkier, plummier, younger sister to the Mad for Matte original, which is a little bit more basic neutral. In this same shadow format where they give you, what is this, 10 shadows in one palette, they have it where it's not only all matte, but it's also a mixture of textures and mixture of colors. They have one that's called like the Party Palette, where it's brights and neutrals, and it's just, they just have a ton of variety, and the shadow quality is consistently good across the board. And then they also have prism eyeshadows. Again, these are all the same sort of format where you will get 6 shadows in one palette, and they are all these intensely pigmented, intensely metallic, shimmery shadows that are so smooth and easy to blend. They're just amazing shadows for when you want some high impact texture and pigment across the lid, but you don't want to break the bank to get it. There's just, this one in particular is called Naked, and it's amazing for, you know, a natural, an everyday sort of neutral eye look. I definitely wouldn't call it natural, but oh boy, if you want some shine on your lid, this will give it to you. And then it will also double as like a super intense face highlight if you're really into super intense face highlights like these down here. So just like I said, across the board, the consistency with these is just so spot on. Highly recommend both the Prism shadows and just the regular, I don't even know if there's a shadow line here, but it's just the 10 pan eyeshadows. Next, let's talk some face powders. This is the Contouring Blush and Bronzer in the shade St. Lucia. I think the first one they ever came out with, certainly the first one I've ever purchased, because mine is easily as old as this channel is. And it was a dead, and still is, a dead ringer for the NARS, Orgasm, and Laguna Blush and Bronzer duo. There's a slight difference in texture across both. The Orgasm is very much more pinky and peachy, just more pigmented in general, whereas the e.l.f. has a lot more of the gold veining in there, so I get a lot more gold highlight when I apply this and less of the peach pigment. It's definitely not an exact dupe, but if you're going to reach for one product for your whole like face, blush, bronzer, highlight, this is one of the best ones to do it with because it gives you all in one. This bronzer is super buildable. It looks a little dark for me in the pan, but like I said, or you'll see in that tutorial, I just used a super light hand with this brush and just lightly dusted it all over the perimeter of my face to get a really beautiful bronzed glow. It can be built if you have deeper skin or you just like a more intense bronzer, if that's what you want to call it. And then you have the blush here where, like I said, you get a little bit less of the colorful pigment, but you get a ton of that highlighter, and you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone because you have both your blush and highlighter in one product. So I love this. I'm sure all the other shades are beautiful too, but this is just one that I have stood by for many, many years because it's just a tried and true product for me. That said, they have also come out with some amazing new products. One of my favorites is the Illuminating palette, which at this point isn't all that new, I guess. It's probably a year old at this point, but newer than that one, certainly. So like I said, this is the highlighting palette, and this comes in the palette format where you can actually pop these out. I don't know that you can get individual replacements for these, but they do have multiple different kinds of palettes like this. They have contour palettes, blush palettes, and so the idea there is that you can pop these out individually and mix and match within the palette. It's less about replacing shadows or powders as you use them up, and more about mixing and matching with the palettes, the existing palettes as you have them, to kind of create your full face in one palette to go, which is another, I mean, this is another best of, I think, is this sort of palette format, but specifically this highlight palette is amazing. All of these powders, they're very finely milled. These aren't glittery highlighters at all, but they still manage to be very distinct. You have like a yellow golden up here, you have a peachy pink over here, more of a less yellow sort of champagne gold down here, and then a bronze gold down here in the middle to kind of serve every purpose you might want your highlight to serve, whether it is a face highlight, body highlight, you need to go with a cool face makeup, warm face makeup. This just has it all and does it with really good quality at a really affordable price, which is like the story of e.l.f. Last up are lashes, and I have to be honest, I was not a fan of e.l.f. lashes up until I literally tried this pair that I just ordered along with that foundation and moisturizer. Up until now, they've had thicker lash bands, and if they don't have the thick lash bands for me, like, make my eyes a little sensitive, I can't wear them for a long period of time just because they're so rigid and they irritate my lash line. So I have to take them off pretty quickly. Or if they do have that thin lash line, they're not really noticeable at all. They're so thin, very wispy, and it's like I'm pretty satisfied with the way my lashes look with mascara anyway, so it's like if they don't amplify the appearance of my lashes, what's the point in wearing them? I just hadn't found e.l.f. lashes that had really make me go, these are worth wearing, and they're super comfortable, so I don't even have to like compromise comfort for wear. These are the pair, and they are the Winged and Flirty. This is the packaging, but I'm wearing them on my eyes right now, and so they're the Winged and Flirty Luxe Lash Kit. I also bought another pair. This is the Winged and Bold, but these definitely have that thicker liner, so maybe they'll be a little less rigid, a little more flexible. They certainly look beautiful and like have that flare that I really love in a lash, but without having worn them, I can't vouch for these, but absolutely love these. The lash line is barely there. It's one of those kind of transparent lash bands, which makes it super flexible, really comfortable and light on the eyelid. Like some lashes make your eyes feel super heavy. Not these at all. They're just very, very comfortable to wear. And at that price point, like how could, you know, for someone who wears lashes so sparingly, it can sometimes be hard for me to sort of invest in a pair of lashes, but when they're this affordable, how could you say no? Now onto the products that I didn't love so much, and that's not to say that there aren't other products within the e.l.f. line that I like. They're just not like my ride or die must-haves like I just told you here. They're nice. If you are on a budget, they're good to have, but I wouldn't say they are absolute must-haves for me. So just know that, like especially when creating this look, I use a lot of other products there. It's not that I don't think they're good, it's just I don't think they're absolute must-haves, cream of the crop from the brand. The first thing I actually don't even have to show you because it's a mascara, and I have never found an e.l.f. mascara that works for me. The formulas are typically too wet or too dry. There's just nothing for me in the middle. The wands aren't anything special. I don't know, guys, maybe point me in the right direction because I have yet to find an e.l.f. mascara that I find does anything remotely flattering for my lashes. Next up, let's do this guy. So like I said, I had some of those, I think Beautifully Precise, that's what they're called. Had a couple of those in my brush loves. This I see no point for, and I think it's very expensive to not have a point in your makeup collection. It's the, I believe it's face massaging brush. You can see it has this bubbled texture to the top. It, you know, I think in theory it's supposed to be innovative in the way it massages your face as you apply everything from foundation to maybe bronzer or something over here to maybe facial serums if you want to give yourself facial massage. But I just didn't find that these bubbles or the shape of this brush did anything special in the application of any product. And it's kind of an expensive one to have that happen. So just don't recommend this at all. Next up are the long-lasting lustrous eyeshadows. These are basically like bouncy cream or moussey shimmers. Like you put your finger in here and it looks like there's this beautiful metallic payoff, but then you actually go to apply it and nothing comes off. Like all the product stays on my finger and none of it actually gets applied. It takes a lot of working with. It ends up just kind of being this patchy, glittery mess that I feel like I could get a lot easier with a lot of other products. And honestly, if I'm looking for an ultra metallic payoff like this, I would easily go to those Prism shadow palettes far before I would reach for these. So I see what these want to be, something along the lines of a color pop. That's actually very similar to these textures, very similar to a color pop, so I could see what these are trying to be, but they just don't get there. And so, like I said, would avoid these, but if this is the kind of payoff you're looking for, check out those Prism eyeshadows because that's what they'll give you, some pop. And last, and this might be, I don't know, as controversial as makeup can be really, but I do think there are some people who are not going to agree with me here, but that's what it's all about, is just sharing your thoughts, are basically a lot of the baked e.l.f. things. I know a lot of people love the highlighters, and there's the trick where you scrape off the top and that's how you like reveal the goodness underneath, but I've done the scraping, I've done some swirling, I feel like I've worked with this every which way and I just don't see the hype that everybody else does. And so you know, as far as highlighters go, I found some that I'm in love with from e.l.f. This is just not it. And then the other one is this highlight bronze duo, which first of all, I mean, in addition to the fact that you have to do the scraping and all the stuff to get it to work, this is so small. Like what size bronzer brush are you using to get into this side of the pan? Like that, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It needs to come in a much bigger pan in order to be functional for me at all. And then to couple that with the fact that it's just hard to get a lot of pigment payoff from these to begin with, it's just not for me. So yeah, I personally, these are not for me, but just know a lot of people love them, and so you should go check out their videos and maybe learn more why, because they definitely give a more natural, subtle highlight, I find. Alright guys, so those are all of my picks from e.l.f., both top and bottom. I'd love to hear if you agree, if you have any others to add to either side of that. Definitely let me know in the comments below. Like I said, if you're interested in a tutorial on this look, either stay tuned or I will link to the tutorial if it's already up in the description below, or click the eye over here to go give that a watch. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys!